Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are doing well. And if you aren't, that you'll feel better after a little bit of yoga. And even if that doesn't help, that you find something else that will help you feel better, right? Yoga is just one of the tools that we can use for our mental health, for our physical well being. Um, it, it might just be something you enjoy doing. And if it's not, I hear that too. Sometimes I can see murderous looks in my yoga students' faces. Not as often as when I teach spin, but there you go. All right, we're going to do a little bit of lunging today. A bit of high lunge, which I know can be a lot for some people, right? Is the back toes and the compression, and it's some days you just want to bring that back knee down, and that's fine. In which case, I highly recommend something like a chip foam block or a folded up towel or some sort of cushion that you can bring underneath your back knee, which will really give you that little bit of extra cushioning and support. Also, blocks are handy, but aside from that, let's get started. We're going to start lying down on your back if you're comfortable there. If you're not, you could stay seated for a little while wherever you need to go. And then, depending on how your day has been, maybe it will take a little bit longer for you to settle on your mat. If you have any little wiggles or tightnesses or kinks that you need to get out, then take your time to settle here. Maybe you feel ready to just be still. And then when you are ready, to find a bit of stillness for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more, just like that. And then continue breathing however you need to. It could be in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing. If it feels really open and spacious, then great. With the change in weather, it can often feel a little bit more rugged or choppy, in which case you might gently try to lengthen through those parts of the breath just to smooth it out a little bit more. And then draw your focus to your belly or your abdomen. Notice maybe the movement in your belly with every breath. Maybe feel a widening of the rib cage with every inhale. And then start to ever so slightly draw your belly button toward your spine. So a very gentle contraction of the abdominal muscles here, particularly the excuse me, transversus abdominis, the deepest core muscle, which can help just stabilize through the core. And then maintaining that very slight contraction. Continue breathing. Notice maybe that the breath has traveled up a little bit. Maybe it's up in your chest and shoulders already, and that's fine. But we're going to be doing a bit of twisting today. So it can sometimes help to move the breath up and out of the belly or the lower abdomen in order to get a deeper twist. If a deeper twist is something that you are looking for. But even with this gentle contraction or gentle activation of the abdominals, you can still get a belly breath. It's just not as deep. There isn't as much movement. And then release the activation. Return to your natural breath. Start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body, a little wiggle of the fingertips or toes. Oh, a big yawning stretch if that feels good for you. And then when you're ready, draw your knees in toward your chest and take a little rock from side to side. You might continue just rocking side to side, or it might feel good to draw circles here with your knees. Maybe they go in the same direction as each other. Maybe they go in opposite directions as each other. If you always do one thing, then maybe try the other thing, right? If you always take the knees in the same direction, maybe you try taking them in the opposite direction. If you always do these egg beaters, maybe you take the knees together. And just play with it. And then pause back and center. We're going to get a very gentle little warm up for the core. This will be made easier the closer you bring your knees in toward your chest, or even having your feet on the floor. If you'd like a little bit more challenge, then start to come into a Pilates style tabletop, stacking your knees over your hips, and then the shins more or less parallel with the earth. Flex the toes back toward your shins and hug the legs toward each other like crazy, wherever you are. This activation of the inner thighs really helps fire up through the deeper core muscles. And then arms out to the side. And then as you inhale, start to lower or bring your knees over to the right a little bit. Only so far as you can go before you feel like that left shoulder blade is going to lift up off the floor. And then as you exhale, come back to center. And then inhale over to the left and exhale back through center. So a few more of these on your own time, on your own breath. The whole time, though, I want you to glue your shoulder blades to the earth. It can sometimes help to take like a mix of robot and cactus arms, sort of press your elbows into the floor. And then if this gets too challenging, then by all means, draw your knees closer toward you or bring your toes to the floor as you rock the knees side to side. If you want to give yourself more of a challenge, then extend your legs. Keep pressing the low back into the floor, particularly when you come through center. Now I realize we've been here for a long time, so let's just do once more each side. And then come back to center, shake it out a little bit. And then it might feel great to rock and roll up and down your spine here. You could go shoulder blades to sit bones. Maybe you roll to one side, but eventually make your way to hands and knees. And then setting up in a nice yoga tabletop position, hands outer shoulder width apart or wider, knees underneath hips, toes can be tucked or untucked. Let's start to move through cat and cow. So as you inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through your collarbones. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under, around through the spine. Really press through the floor with your hands. And then inhale, dip into cow. Exhale, round into cat. So a few more of these on your own time, on your own breath. It might even feel good to pause in cow pose. Take a little wag from side to side just to release through those abdominals. And then exhale around. If your low back is tight, maybe you play with sending your hips further back toward your heels while you're in cat. Maybe you take big barrel rolls to the chest or shoulders. Just move however you need to move. Maybe you move in a totally different way, a way that you've never moved before. And then come back to center. All right, plant your left hand here. And as you inhale, pick your right arm out to the side, maybe lift it up to the sky, and then exhale, thread it underneath the left. Press back into that left hand. Inhale open up again, up to the right, and exhale, twist. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. You might be feeling those obliques, those twisting core muscles a little bit more here. We're going to start to settle down toward the earth, so you might bring the back of the shoulder, the side of the head to the floor or your mat. You might bring a pillow or something underneath your head or your shoulder to give you a bit more support. And then that left hand could stay where it is. You might drape it behind your low back or bring the heel of the hand to the crease of the wrist. You could walk the fingertips up to the top edge of your mat or over to the right. Couple more breaths wherever you need to go. And then plant your left hand back to the earth, press into it. Inhale, unwind, back to center. Shake it out a little bit just to release anything that might have got stuck. And then we'll switch sides. So inhale the left arm out to the side, maybe lift it up to the sky. Exhale, thread to the right. Press back into that hand. Inhale, open up to the left. And exhale, twist. One last time. Inhale, open. Exhale, twist. And then bring the back of the shoulder down the side of the head. And this is a really great place to bring a block or a pillow underneath your head. You might press into that right hand a little bit more, or maybe bring the heel of the hand to the crease of the wrist. You could drape the arm behind the low back, walk the fingertips up to the top edge of the mat or over to the left. You might take a totally different variation on this side than you did on the first. Last breath here. And then plant your right hand. Inhale, open up again. And then exhale, unwind, little wiggle or shake. Make sure your hands are nice and wide again. You can stay here in hands and knees, moving and grooving if you'd like to. Otherwise, tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back into your downward facing dog. And then pedal your heels toward the floor, bending one knee and then the other. Just getting a little bit of a dynamic release for the calf muscles. You might wag your tail from side to side here as well, getting into the side body a little bit. And then bend your knees a little bit more. Start to reach your sit bones to where the back wall reaches or meets the ceiling. Hug your upper arm bones toward each other. And then send your weight more into the fingertips and out of the heels of the hands if you can. From there, maintaining the length in the spine, maybe then you start to straighten the back of the legs. The heels might never reach the floor. Your knees might never straighten. And that's fine as long as you have this nice length through the spine without dipping the chest too far through the shoulders. Right? It's not about a chest opener here. It's about a really strong position through the upper body. And then bend your knees, look forward, exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat. Come into your standing forward fold. You could sway a little bit from side to side. Maybe it feels better to be still today. You might bring support underneath your hands in the form of blocks or a coffee table, or maybe you rest your elbows on your knees or thighs. Wherever you are, nod your head yes. Shake your head no. Let your head hang heavy, neck long. If you have arms clasped or hands clasped, take the opposite, crossing or interlacing. And then make sure your knees aren't knocking, so they're not caving in. Can you send them out slightly to the baby toe edges of the feet? You might feel this fire up the outer edge of your hip. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins or blocks or the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, release. And then charge or rather bend your knees. Glue your chin into your chest. Slowly start to roll up to standing, one vertebra at a time. As slow as you need to go. Till eventually you come all the way up to standing. fix your clothes, take a couple loops of your shoulders up, back, and down. Little noodle, shake out or release. And then bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees, take a few hip circles, first one direction, and then the other. And then shake out your legs. All right, so send your weight to your right foot, a little buoyancy on that supporting knee, and then come to the toes on that left foot. Maybe you stay here, maybe you pick up, your left knee and take a few easy pulses of that supporting leg. So just starting to fire up the glutes, the stabilizers. Kick your heel to the bum, lean forward, keep the pulses going. And then bring your left knee forward. Inhale here. As you exhale, start to step that left leg all the way back for your high lunge. So eventually coming to a position where you can still maintain hip width between the feet. All right, so you're not on some crazy tightrope with one foot directly behind the other. Give yourself a bit of space. And then bend both knees. Bring your arms to cactus. As you inhale, straighten through the legs. Exhale, sink back down, bend the knees, bend your elbows. Inhale, reach overhead. And exhale, bend both knees. 2 more of these. And then start to sink into your fuller position or fuller variation of high lunge. For some of us, or some of you, it might be a bent knee on the front leg, but a supercharged straight leg on the back. By all means, I know sometimes that means that you start to crank into the low back or it's not available to you, in which case take a gentle bend on the back knee. Otherwise, squeeze your bum, squeeze the top of the thigh on that back leg. Can you stack your heel on the back foot over the toes so they're not reaching back? Becomes a really strong position. And then inhale your arms up overhead. Chill out on the shrug muscles a little bit. Couple breaths here. Squeeze your bum a little bit more on the back leg, whether or not your back knee is bent. And then bring your arms to cactus. Lean forward on a long line. Reset that back leg. Inhale here. As you exhale, twist to the right. Keep your elbows lifted. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, same thing. Twist to the right. So always twisting across that front leg. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. One last time. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twist. This time, pause here. Keep those elbows lifted if you wish. Or maybe you start to fold forward a little bit more. You could bring the front elbow to the knee. Maybe you bring palms to prayer or spread your wings. Wherever you need to go, but really work on that back leg. It's your anchor. It's your stability here, wherever you are. Last breath here. And as you inhale, unwind, bend the back knee. Maybe you take a giant step forward and shake it out. Release through the glutes on that right leg. And then we'll switch sides. So weight comes to that left foot. You might come to the toes on the right leg and take a few easy pulses here. Or maybe you pick up the right knee. Kick your heel to the bum, lean forward. Keep the pulses going. Maybe your toes are on the floor. Right, you're still doing all the work, but you're just giving yourself a little bit more stability if your toes are on the floor. And then bring that right knee forward again. Inhale here. Exhale. Start to step back for your high lunge. And again, try to find a position where your feet are still hip width apart. It just gives you more space. It makes it more comfortable. Bend the back knee as well as the front knee. Bring your arms to cactus. And then as you inhale, straighten both legs. And exhale, bend into them. Couple more. I like getting into lunge this way because you get the straight legs, you get the bent legs, and then lunge is half and half, right? So next time as you bend, maybe you stay here, maybe you start to supercharge that back leg towards straight, right? Squeeze the bum, squeeze the top of the thigh. Maybe even squeeze the calf muscles, particularly if you're able to get that heel stacked over the toes. And then sweep your arms up to the sky. Squeeze your bum a little bit more on that back leg. By all means, maybe you have a bent knee. Maybe you're way down further than I am. Maybe you're up higher. It doesn't matter. And then bring your arms to cactus. Lean forward on that long line. Keep wrapping that outer front hip back. Inhale here. Exhale, twist to the left. Elbows stay high. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. 2 more of these. Getting that little bit of oblique work here. You might hover it out, right? Really working those obliques. Maybe you bring front elbow to knee. Palms could come to prayer. You could spread your wings, but really work on charging that back leg towards straight. Couple more breaths, wherever you need to be. And as you inhale, unwind, bend to that back knee, and step forward. Oh, shake out a little bit, little release of the glutes. And let's do some hip circles. One direction, and then the other. And then shake out your legs. All right, send your weight back to that right leg. A little buoyancy on the supporting knee. And then inhale the left knee high. Exhale, step back for high lunge again. Start to sink into that front knee. Supercharge your back leg towards straight. Maybe the arms reach up to the sky. One more breath here. And then bring your palms to prayer. Lean forward on that long line. Look forward. And then maybe you start to de-weight the back leg and teeter-totter into your warrior 3. Now your warrior 3 might be here today with your toes on the floor. You might start to pick it up. Maybe eventually you come to parallel with the torso and the leg. Keep wrapping that outer right hip back. You can have a deep bend on that knee. This is a fantastic place to bring blocks underneath your hands for a bit more support. And then when you look back, can you see your toes flex toward the floor rather than out to the left? So wrap the outer left hip down, spiral the inner left thigh up. One more breath here. And then as you inhale, come all the way up to standing, bring that knee high, and then step it down. Shake it out a little bit. Let's try that on the opposite side. So weight goes to that left foot, a little buoyancy on that supporting knee, pick up the right leg. And then as you exhale, step it back for high lunge. Sink into that front knee, supercharge the back leg towards straight. This side today, my back leg doesn't want to work, but that's okay. One more breath here. Bring your palms to prayer. Lean forward on that long angle, and then maybe bend the knee to give yourself a little bit of leverage here, or momentum rather. And then start to come into your warrior 3, whatever it might look like on this side. Wrap the supporting hip back. Spiral the outer upper thigh down, the inner thigh up. Right? Maybe you have blocks under your hands. Maybe your hands are in prayer. Maybe you're going full warrior 3 with the extended arms. And then slowly bend that knee. Draw this lifted leg all the way forward and through. Exhale, step it down. Shake out the legs a little bit. Couple hip circles. And then inhale, sweep up to the sky. Exhale, melt to the earth. Forward fold. For 3 breaths, inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. 2 more. And then bend your knees enough that your palms can come down. Come down to hands and knees. Little wiggle, shake, or cat and cow. And then roll to your side, or I guess come to seated, and then roll down to the earth. So eventually making your way onto your back. Hug your legs toward you. Take a little rock from side to side. Keep your knees bent. Bring your feet to the floor. We'll move into a figure 4 stretch. So cross your right ankle over top of the left thigh and really flex those top toes back toward your shin. This might be where you stay. You might start to deepen it. You could bring a block underneath that left foot. You might draw your legs toward you. You could take a little rock from side to side. Maybe you clasp your hands behind that left thigh. Some people like extending the left leg up to the sky, so it's kind of like half hamstring, half hip stretch. For me, I feel like it is unsatisfactory for both. It's not a great hamstring stretch. It also ends up not being a great outer hip stretch. But if this works for you, then by all means, and go where you need to go. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly, gently release. Unwind your legs, maybe shake them out a little bit. And then when you're ready, we'll take the opposite side. So cross the left ankle over top of the right thigh. Again, pause here for a moment. Flex those top toes back toward the shin. Maybe you stay here. You could press the left thigh away from you. Maybe you draw your legs toward you. You could just use the muscles of your core. Maybe you have a strap that you could bring behind the right thigh. Maybe you bind behind that right leg. Wherever you need to go. It doesn't matter how long or how many years I've been practicing yoga, it still astounds me how the same pose can feel so different from one side to the other. You might get into a completely different muscle group, or at least feel the tension in a different way. Last couple breaths here. And then gently release your legs, unwind them, shake them out a little bit, and then hug your knees into your chest, little rock from side to side. You know me, I like to end with a twist, and this time we get a nice passive twist. So take your right arm out to the side. Maybe you shift your hips right a little bit to start with, and then as you exhale, lower your knees to the left. So this time it should feel like you're getting a stretch or a release through the obliques rather than working them. If you have a block, it's a really nice place to bring a block underneath your knee or between them. If you have a different variation of twist, that would feel great here. Feel free to go where you need to go. This can be as gentle or as deep as it needs to be for you today. Last breath here. And then on your inhale, return to center, reset your pelvis and your spine. When you're ready, take your left arm out to the side. Maybe you shift your hips left. Exhale, lower your knees to the right. So a good few breaths here. You might prop underneath your knees. Maybe you choose to take a different variation on this side than you did on the first. Go wherever you need to go because you know your body better than I do, especially because I can't see what you're doing. A few more breaths here. Can you find a little bit more ease here? Notice if you're holding any gripping in the muscles or fighting against the twist. On your inhale, return to center, reset your pelvis and spine. And if there's anything else you feel like you need before your rest, maybe a happy baby or some sort of spinal flexion or extension, feel free to go where you need to go. Otherwise, start to make your way into your final resting pose. You could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side or a child's pose or in a seated meditation. And there's certainly no rush to get there. But once you have found your pose of rest, once you feel at ease for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose and exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more just like that. And then let go of your breath control. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension. So that with each exhale, you can let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but then let them go. Let them drift by you like leaves on the wind. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.